Hi, this is Lakshmi Chaudhary, founder and editor of Splainer.in. Today we're going to talk about something that sounds terribly boring, electoral bonds. We all know about the big, bad, rich guy who gives the neta bags full of cash. But what if all that cash was white, totally legal, and he could send it via state bank? And you still don't know who paid what to whom. Is that a good thing or not? And that's what we're going to discuss today. We've all seen that movie, the fat cat factory owner or corporate type palms off wads of cash to a corrupt politician who sells out the ordinary Indian. The truth is, we Indians have become so cynical that we'd be shocked if our electoral system worked any other way. Okay, but what about something more shocking? What if funding elections in that way was actually legal? What if the fat cat didn't even have to deliver the payoff in the middle of the night, but he could do it in broad daylight at a State Bank of India? That's why everyone is so mad about something called electoral bonds. Let's start with the root of Indian corruption, which has remained the same whether it's 1974 or 2023. Anyone who wants to do business in India has to keep the Sarkar happy. That can be your local or state government or your union government. That's because Indian regulation is so filled with little known and very vaguely worded clauses that allow the powers that be to target you whenever they want. Just ask any guy who runs a restaurant in this country. In our country, even after decades of liberalization, everything needs a clearance. That means some babu has the power to say yes or no, and he reports to a neta. So companies have to keep the ruling party happy and make sure they are not seen as backing the wrong horse. It's just the price of doing business in India, and you'd be stupid not to pay it. Now add the lucrative business of getting government contracts. This is a country where the bulk of spending is on government schemes. These yojanas are the foundation for the whole chains of corruption, from embezzlement to bribes. As Gautam Adani would tell you, it's very profitable to have the government on your side. But what's ironic is that every so-called reform of our electoral finance laws has actually made everything worse and made it so much easier to corrupt the system. Let's start in 1968. Until then, any company looking to curry favor with the party could make a donation. Yes, there were limits, and the donations had to be declared on the company's books. But then there were concerns of money buying government policy. So Indira Gandhi grandly banned corporate donations in 1968. Now, it sounded good on paper, but how was the party supposed to finance itself or its election campaign? Especially since the law did not set up any alternative source of financing. For example, government funds in countries like Sweden. The actual effect was to make black money financing very attractive and very prevalent. The socialist era license Raj made bribing even more attractive for any company because you needed a license just to do business. Then in 1974, the Supreme Court made things even worse. It said that any money spent by a party or an individual did not count towards a candidate's election expenses. Now imagine that. This means the candidate's party or pals could throw around as much cash as they wanted without any limit. This is when the whole arms race of election spending really begins. When candidates start to lavishly distribute liquor and other goodies like washing machines during an election. Except they're not paying the bill, right? Imagine what kind of wild west this created. There is no limit on election spending and corporate donations are barred. Naturally, every neta was saying, black money zindabad. In 1984, corporate donations became legal again, but had to be declared on its books. But it was too late. Companies were already so used to doling out cash in secret and all the benefits that entailed. For example, you wouldn't be punished for supporting the party's rival, just in case you bet on the wrong horse. Things started to look up in the early 2000s. The BJP-led NDA made corporate donations 100% tax deductible, but it was still limited to 5% of the company's average net profit for the past 3 years. This led to a big jump in the number of declared donations, but let's be real, most of the money was still being passed under the table. and overwhelming amounts of money made by parties and candidates were essentially kickbacks for favors. Flash forward to 2017. Once again, the NDA is in power. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley presents the 2018-19 budget to the Parliament, as usual. But it contains a section that's a bit unusual, a brand new way to fund elections called Electoral Bonds. Jaitley declared that it will end the scourge of black money in politics and make political donations transparent. Well, he was technically right, but not really. In any case, the sweeping change in how we fund elections in our country was pushed through Lok Sabha, where NDA had a majority. But the really handy bit? It was part of the finance bill. You see, what's special about a finance bill is that the Rajya Sabha doesn't have to approve of it. Guess who doesn't have a majority in the Rajya Sabha? The NDA. See? Nicely played. So what is this thing called an electoral bond? Quite simply, it is a financial instrument that allows a person or an NGO or a trust or a company to make a donation to a political party of their choice. First, go to any branch of the State Bank of India and buy a bond. You can pick from a range of amounts from 1,000 to 1 crore. Now, there's no limit in the number of bonds you can buy, but there are limited windows of time within which you can buy them. Typically, this is during the first 10 days of every financial quarter. In a Lok Sabha election year, the government will open another 30-day window. And for state elections, it can open another 15-day window, as it did just before the elections in this month. Next, give the bonds to the party you like. They can cash it within 15 days of the issue date, and that's it, you're done. Now, you're probably wondering what's wrong with this scheme. Everything is legal, above board, and with a bank paper trail. Now, that's the beauty of the scheme. Yes, you have to undergo KYC when you buy a bond, so the state bank can verify your identity. But then your identity becomes its secret. There's no name on the bearer bond, so it can't be traced to you, even when it's deposited by the party of your choice. You know what's even better? Any company making a donation no longer has to declare it on its books. And that old cap of 7.5% for the past 3 years, blah, 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 gone. Sky is the limit for your contributions. The government argues this policy protects the anonymity of the donor, which is their constitutional right. But the NGOs suing to overturn the law say that it violates your constitutional right to know. After all, none of us will ever know how much an Ambani or an Adani has given to any party. And Congress or any other opposition party don't have the right to that information either. So who has that information? The state bank. And who can they share that information with? Law enforcement agencies or courts. In other words, the government can easily figure out what company gave how much money to which party via some enforcement directorate or tax investigation. But the rest of us will always be kept in the dark. Also, imagine what will happen if the ruling party finds out that a company has given money to its rival. Just the fear of being caught will make sure that the company will never ever dare do it. It's hardly surprising that BJP has received the lion's share of all electoral bonds. Up to now, 9,188 crores have been given in bonds. And BJP has received 5,271 crores. The other national parties, all of them together, have only received 1,783 crores. That's a crazy disparity. The bottom line is that the system favors the party that is in power and is most expected to remain in power. So don't expect the numbers to be any different for this Lok Sabha election. We all live in a BJP world, including India Inc. And that's until some other party scrambles onto the gaddi and the gravy train. Thank you for watching this video. There's plenty more information and a free Splainer subscription in the description. This is part of our 24 question selection project, so stay tuned, there's plenty more to come.